Andrew Plank. How are you doing?
Good, Jane Johnston. How are you? Happy Monday. Happy Halloween, October 31st.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosa, and welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show. And I'm here with...
with Andrew Plank, and we're going to talk today about appraisals and the fact that it's really important to understand them and how they might impact your purchase.
Right. So we're going to look sort of at the trends, and we'll look at some articles that are going on. But first, let's just get straight to our stats. And alrighty. So
stats.
We have had a very active week.
We have had, did you say?
Yeah. 192 listings. That's compared to 215 the week before. Still pretty good.
We're down a bit, but that's to be expected.
Pending are 109. So list to sale ratio still over 50%. So that's good.
That is good. Yeah. The numbers on both of those are down, but pending down to 109 versus 132 does not look great, but still things are going. 139 price decreases both this week and last week. So somehow both weeks must have conferred and come to some agreement.
Did you do any price decreases last week?
I was not involved in any price increases. No. Oh, decreases. It was last week or the week before we decreased price on the listing on Pipeline? Yeah.
And did that create any activity?
We're under contract. Yes. Yeah. We ended up with competing offers.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just want to say that is so important. It's totally a key, I think, to getting your house into the market value is what's going to stimulate the people to write the offer. And when we're going to look at a graph today and see where we are compared to last year. So a few graphs, so you can see why maybe there are price decreases. They really do make sense when you look into them.
Yeah, the thing is, people think, oh, I'm selling my home for less than it's worth because I'm decreasing the price, or but your house is worth what buyers are willing to pay for it and what you're willing to let it go for. So if you have to decrease the price to bring buyers, that's probably more likely what the price point is.
Exactly. And then if you're getting multiple offers, to me, it really says, boom, you're on the right track.
Yeah, you're under the market or on the right price point. And in the past markets, you could safely underprice your home and still get market value because there were more buyers out there. And you would bump it up, sometimes more than market value, simply by pricing it low, which was counterintuitive, but was what worked. 43 properties expired unsold in the last week, though, Jane. So we're definitely seeing, these numbers, while not abnormal for a normal market, are definitely much higher than we were seeing. And I guess we're going to have to start getting used to this and just talking about this as the new normal instead of referring to the past market as
normal.
Yeah.
The other thing is some people do expire and then relist properties, and it does work. And
early, you mean, as opposed, not letting the contract just run its course. That happens, of course, too, and then they renew. But yes, we considered that as a strategy for one of my listings recently as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we're comparing last week to this week. Okay. So we went from 350 sales to 458, and that's compared to 745 for last year. So I think we're about normal.
So here we are, October 31st, and last year, 745 sales in the month of October, and this month, we may see a couple more input before the end of the month. And as actually at my networking group, we were discussing this, even by October 31st or November 1st, this isn't going to show the full numbers for October 2022 yet, because there's still agents that might be inputting sales that happened in October into November. So we'll get these stats more accurate later on, but 458 is, I'd say that's low, wouldn't you say?
Well, I'm trying to think over compared to a normal market, I think it's between 400 and 600. So I think we're doing pretty well.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it is, as we get into October, November, December, things tend to slow down as well. So yeah, we can't expect to see houses rocketing out the door. 980 new listings came on market. That's more than last year. So definitely more properties are coming on, and we're way more, over double what we had last year for available inventory at 2,214 versus 1,036. Yes, Jane.
No, I was just like, yay, we have choice.
Right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Getting out there and actually showing properties is fun.
And then active listings were at 2,214. That's compared to 1,036 last year. So as Andrew was saying, we're almost double. So that is great. That's awesome. I'm finding still, though, depending on what you're looking for, definitely houses with suites that are newer construction is a bit hard to find. But actually on the weekend we went and looked at 5. So feeling good about that.
Okay. Do you find, though, when there's more selection, buyers are, it's funny because when there's more selection, buyers are actually more prone to wait and see what happens next?
Yes. And because they don't have a sense of urgency, they wait, and then it costs money. So what Andrew and I are saying, if let's say you're looking at a property that's $1 million or something like that, and you go, well, I'm just going to wait and see what else is on the market. And then maybe a few other properties come on, but you still like that house, you wait a little bit, and then what happens is somebody else comes in, decides they like it, and all of a sudden you're paying more. So that's where the multiple offer comes in.
Right.
Okay. So we're looking at appraisals and how and when they're done. So
Go ahead.
Appraisal is for the lender. It's not for the borrower. And sometimes they don't even share what the value of the appraisal is. They just let you know if it's gone through or not. There really are what I call a dispassionate view of the value of the home. It's somebody making sure that you're not buying a shack.
What they want to know is this is done. You can certainly get your own appraisal done and pay for it. But when the bank is getting an appraisal, they're just confirming that $1 million house you're buying is truly worth $1 million, and is not a $500,000, as Jean said, shack that they're lending way more money than it's worth on, and you're pocketing the difference or have some sort of side deal in the background with the seller. They're looking for, they just don't want to overlend because that's problematic for everyone. But because of that, if they don't want to overlend, what can happen, especially in a market like we're in now, where prices are starting to go downwards, is you may agree to buy at a certain price, and the appraiser may come in at a lower price, and then the bank may actually ask the buyer to make up the difference.
Right. So this is actually more of a case in the U.S. where appraisers have had more power than they do in Canada. Generally here, if it's considered an arm's length negotiation, the appraisal comes in pretty close to asking price. But they do look at what's happening with the economy, and they look like at local factors. So if you have, let's say you're in a logging town and sorry, I just got sent a counter offer. And the major company goes under, obviously the price of the houses and the appraisals are going to come in less, even though you've just written an offer that's arm's length. So they're really trying to look at what's happening big picture, as well as they're looking at what's just sold. They're not looking what's currently on the market, which I always find interesting.
No, because what's currently on the market is wishful thinking, right? It's not an actual sale price. So they will look at past sales only. They only look at the past. But an appraisal, an appraisal is really going to be problematic these days if your appraisal comes in low. It does happen here in Canada. I mean, it certainly does. And there's been many examples where buyers are asked to make up the difference, and they don't always have that money.
Right. So you really want to do your appraisal pretty close to when you purchase a property. Sometimes what happens is we are, let's say we're the buyer agent, we write a contract, we're now putting in that we allow access for an appraiser, because previously, if we waived the financing condition and we didn't have that term in there that an appraiser could go in, then we were hooped and the appraiser wasn't allowed in the house.
Yeah, it's really ironic that people get their financing approved. You know, we make an offer, we include a condition for financing. The financing is approved by the bank, but they still want an appraiser to come in and confirm value. And we're usually pretty good at knowing, you know, we're pretty aware if the home value is off base from the accepted offer price, right? But if an appraiser comes in after the fact and they come in really low, then that's going to still be problematic for that buyer. But it's happened to me so many times where, either as the seller's agent or as the buyer's agent, where you get the call from the appraiser after subject conditions have been removed, and they say, we want to go through this house. And that's a little bit of a concern, but you definitely need to put it into your contract if you're representing a buyer, that there will be access for an appraiser, because the seller's under no obligation to provide access.
Right. And sometimes what's happening is the lender maybe has walked away or something. The buyer is finding more favorable terms with another lender, and so they're ending up getting it. They do need a new appraisal, even though they've already had one.
Yeah, if they jump ship with lenders, then they might go somewhere else. And the other thing I think people don't understand with lending and with getting their mortgage is they go and get pre-approved, and they feel like, well, now I can buy up to $1 million. I'm pre-approved. Why do they care what this house is worth? But the pre-approval is a pre-approval of you and not of the house. And so there are still a lot of stipulations that are required to, even though you're quote pre-approved, you're definitely not fully approved. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Okay, so what I did was I went and looked at what's happening with the market. These are just stats I pulled I kind of did my own metrics of 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2 to 3 baths, less than 10. So kind of conventional home, less than 10,000 square foot lots. Yeah. And I was looking at the core. And so you can pull these, your agent can pull these from Matrix, and you can see over the past 2 years, we peaked, or past 12 months, we peaked in March. And this is,
these are median or average prices?
These are average price.
Okay.
Yeah. So median price is the center between the top and the bottom. The like of 15, it would be like 7 or 8. And then average is average.
Right.
So actually I did do average and median last night when I was playing around, and they're pretty similar. So that's,
yeah, they would be usually.
Yeah. That's encouraging to me. But yeah, so now you can see there's a bit of a dip in the core going down from September to October. So now's the time to get a deal if you're interested. And of course, we're looking at the balance between what the lending rates are and what the price of the house is. And I've looked up some articles, so I can share those with you. What do you think about this graph?
Well, what's interesting is, we had a rise up in pricing, which was, these curves are curves. They're not really steep here, either in the November 2021 at the beginning, where it was going up and then down and up again. And this long sort of curve down is a long sloping curve down. It actually starts to slow down, rises up a bit, and now we've got, again, a bit of a dip. But it's nothing like a cliff. We don't see a precipitous drop happening, which I think a lot of buyers are looking for, or expecting to see.
Yeah, so this shows that the market has come down, but actually year over year we're not significantly different, maybe 10% down.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Yeah,
your West Shore graph definitely jumps around a lot more, and I think partly because there's a lot newer inventory out there, but interesting to see the average prices sort of hit a low and then come up again.
Well, what's interesting is I didn't put 1 or 2 kitchens in this search. I just did a general average, again, with the criteria on the left side. And what it's telling me is that our market is back where it was last year.
For the West Shore, yeah.
Yeah, for the West Shore. Yeah. And so the reason I think that the value is still there is because there's a release of some homes coming out on the market and people are willing to pay a little bit more money for newer homes. The older homes aren't
Yeah.
quite reaching this level.
Can we go back one graph, please? And then, so we can see here that, the average price in the core is just under 1.2, maybe moving towards 1.1. But in the West Shore, we're under $1 million still. And I mean, we were well under $1 million at one point and it's come up even. So it's worth the drive, I think, and there's more pressure for people to go out to the West Shore, because you will find people ask me what the difference in pricing is between the West Shore and the core, and I say, well, you're going to find it's generally cheaper, and you're going to get a newer home and larger for the price.
Yeah, on a smaller lot.
Yeah, definitely, generally on a smaller lot, but you'll definitely get, for the same price, you'll definitely get newer and larger house.
And this is a peninsula, so the reason why I put 10,000 square foot lots maximum is because I know that in this area in the peninsula, the larger lots are definitely going over this price point.
It gets to be a different kind of house, more of an estate house, and there's a lot of acreages out there, of course. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So again, that's coming down to $1 million. So that looks promising for buyers, I think.
Interesting how these have really shifted around, like quite wavy, this graph.
And I think that speaks to the amount of activity because there haven't been a lot of listings out there. And so depending on what's on the market, it's going to either pull it up or down. So the higher end listings are going to pull it up. And there are some waterfront properties that sell up there that are quite expensive. There's a lot of good waterfront up in the peninsula.
Right. And so, and when we look at these graphs, it looks, because you've got smooth lines on these, but it's truly more, each month is more of a straight line between, in the sense that we don't have the information in between those lines to say that it's actually a curved line. We just know what the numbers are between month to month to month.
Okay, so I just want to go to these two articles that I have stopped sharing. Sorry. So the two articles are, I'm having a.
Did you not put them in the links? No.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is an article by Benjamin Tall. He's the head economist with the CIBC. And he's basically saying that, oh, sorry, this one is. That's Benjamin Tall.
Can we get him as a guest?
I would love that. Maybe I'll try.
Yeah.
But he said the Bank of Canada so far has hiked its overnight target rate by 300 basis points this year, bringing it to 3.25%. And it's expected to end this rate hike cycle anywhere between 4 and 4.25. So just expect there may be one more or two more coming. And they're expecting it to remain steady over the next year and then to come down in 2024. He said historically the Bank of Canada would bring rates down to an average level of 1.75, but he doesn't expect that to happen. He's saying that the bank is trying to maintain its just-in-case scenario, and they're really trying to prevent inflation.
They're more concerned. I've heard from a few people that the central bank is more concerned with inflation than a recession. They would rather see us in a recession than have inflation. So they're going to be more aggressive than perhaps needs be in order to get us into that point, just to ensure we don't continue to have inflation.
Right.
And so it does sort of suggest that we have a recession coming.
Yeah. So he's assuming a rate of 4%. And then cutting back down to 3 or 2.75. I mean, when I bought my house initially in 2000, I think the rate was 6.5%.
Yeah, I remember paying like upwards 8% or something at one point. So back in the early 2000s.
Right. And he's saying, I believe we are already entering overshooting territory. And if they take the overnight rate to 4.5, 4.75, that would be the difference between a mild recession and a more significant recession with some implications for the labor market. I mean,
Mhm.
I, anyway, who he's saying is going to be the people who are going to be hit hardest are those who bought during COVID during the really, really low rates.
Mhm.
But because probably they had fixed rates, he's expecting them to actually be affected not in the next year or two, but in the coming years after that. And then I found this other article, so I'll post that link in here.
Thank you. So I'm sorry, you were saying that he's saying that people will be affected in a few years because they were in fixed rates, but that's true of anybody who does fixed rates, right?
Yeah, but their rate was just so dramatic. Like I
Mhm.
think it was, 0.25% to
Yeah. Well, they're going to benefit over it for the next few years, and wise, if they're wise and capable of it, they should be putting some money aside for when the rates change, just as we all should if we can.
yeah.
I'm on a variable, and I've seen my rates go up my payments go up quite a lot per month. And I've also talked with people who have locked in at under 2% on a fixed, and they're just smiling and happy, but they know that they need to start saving,
Yeah.
paying down their mortgage.
You know what? Anyway, I should have gone fixed.
Well, here's the thing. None of us can predict this. We talk and we talk about what we're seeing. We do make predictions for better or for worse, but nobody really knows. So all I can do is look at the trends and decide. But you just make the best decisions you can.
Right. So this article just basically reiterates what you were saying that if you basically write an offer and you on a property that's a million and the appraisal comes in at 800,000, that you have to come up with the balance. In this case, it's 1.1 million, so 300,000. So
The lenders here will lend up to 80% of value. And then if you have CMHC, that's or a little different, but they will lend up to value, but not beyond. They're not going to lend more than the place is worth, and often they're going to lend less than the place is worth, and you need to come up with your down payment. So it can be a significant hit if you have to come up with that extra money.
right. They're also talking about how this whole issue of property values versus appraisals is really different across the whole country, because
Hmm.
you really do have to look at local economies, not just the whole federal or global economy. That different areas are going to be doing differently. I always find Victoria's a little protected because we do have institutional um, corporations and stuff who are hiring people. We have prisons, we have universities and colleges, so it seems to be fairly steady compared to other places like Calgary, which may be more volatile because of the
Right. Or cities or townships that are more industry based, that coal or mining um, or forestry or fishing, um, those boom and bust type of towns where things can go up or down. I want to comment too. We were talking about mortgages and people coming up on renewal. One of the things that sorry, my phone was just ringing too. I don't know if it's a counter offer or not. But one of the things is you're coming up for renewal on your mortgage, and people get really concerned if values have gone down, and especially what most lenders don't want to have to foreclose on you. And when it comes time to renew, if you're working with the same lender, they will probably just rubber stamp it. There's very likely, and you can talk to your lender and renew you at the current rates. If you want to shop around for rates though, and go to a different lender with maybe a different product, that's where you're going to have to get a new appraisal on your property, because that lender is going to look at you as a new client.
yeah.
And that's where things can get more dangerous. So people concerned about the higher interest rates coming up on their renewals. I mean, I can't speak for the banks themselves. That would be, but in general, they're going to find a lot of people in the same situation, and they're not going to be wanting to take back a bunch of homes and sell them at foreclosure. What they are going to do is look at the situation and probably renew as long as you've been making your payments.
Yeah. So just keep up to date on your payments. It's if you miss a payment. And I had that happen where the bank didn't connect our check to like for the withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call and I'm like, well, it's not like we're trying to avoid a payment here.
Yeah.
And so they'll let one or two go, but then, they're going to get on your case if they see a trend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, now rule number one with your first paycheck is always pay your rent or your mortgage first because you want a roof over your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they do have the right to foreclose on you after you've missed a few payments and start a foreclosure proceedings. So, read your contract.
So I thought next week maybe we could invite somebody from a bank to see what their process is if you want.
Yeah, I've got someone in mind. We'll talk offline, but I've got somebody in mind that maybe we can have next week that has a product that's interesting for new construction.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and next week we're going to be doing our monthly market update. So we're going to be getting the stats tomorrow or the next day. So we'll go over them for next Monday, and we'll have some guests and just go into a little more detail about what's going on with the market and what our predictions are for next year. In the meantime, my darling, how do people get in touch with you?
They can reach me, please, by calling 250-360-6106. Email is info@andrewplank.com. Check the website, andrewplank.com, for lots of great information and resources. And I'm on Instagram under Plank Andrew. All one word.
That always makes me smile. And I'm Jane Johnston. My number is 250-744-0775. You can reach me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com or thebriarhillgroup.com. We also have another website, vancouverislandtime.com, and you can see me on Instagram dancing wildly at Halloween at realtyteacher_Remax_Victoria.
Where's your costume today?
And Vancouver Island _luxury_living. Yeah, I was trying to be Andrew.
This was my costume.
Alrighty, everybody. Good to see you, Andrew, again.
You too.
Don't forget to subscribe. We are on every Monday morning.
I did subscribe.
You did subscribe.
Yeah, awesome. I didn't forget. You remind me every week.
Please subscribe to the Victoria Real Estate Show. All right. Have a good week, Andrew.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Jane.